So my name's Kate, I'm 42 and I have two children. My oldest Edith is 7 years old, nearly 8, and my youngest Ruby is 5, going on 15. So when I first had Edith, my expectation I think was that I would breastfeed from the very beginning. And I did with both of the girls in the end. With Ruby it was a much easier, smoother experience because I had got the experience from breastfeeding Edith in the first place, but it was a challenge to begin with, a big challenge. I don't really recall much about breastfeeding. I never really thought about it until I was having my own children. And really a lot of it just came from my mum. Before we had Edith, we were invited to a day workshop with some local health visitors at one of the children's centres, and it was lovely. It was really helpful. You got to meet some of the mums again, so obviously I got to know them as I then went onto the groups afterwards and things, but there was limited information. I think I just thought, oh, it's easy, I'll have a baby, put them on and they'll get on with it, and it's not as easy as that at all, as I soon discovered. I think when you have a baby, you just assume that babies know what they're doing. And actually the big surprise for me was that obviously she didn't. She had no idea. She'd been in my tummy all that time, and she came out and obviously didn't really know what she was doing. And because I didn't know what I was doing, I ended up with quite a significant sore on my left breast, and she didn't know that. She didn't know it was because of how she was feeding. I didn't know it was because she wasn't feeding correctly. And I think I just assumed that it would be okay, everything would just happen quite naturally and you just get on with it. So I wasn't expecting it to be quite so difficult. And that happened very early on as well. So you just assume everything will happen and you'll get on with it, but it wasn't quite like that. I don't think you get warned about the nights really when you're breastfeeding. They are quite lonely. And I can remember struggling because I had this sore and I didn't know where to turn, and we hadn't got any bottles, so I couldn't just say, well, let's try and give her some formula milk to give me a break, because I wanted to persevere. And I can remember a very lonely night. Edith was about 11 days old and I was just sat in the dark with her trying to feed, and I was in so much pain and I was crying my eyes out. My husband was fast asleep in the other room, I had no idea. And I just remember feeling so lonely and not knowing where to go and who to turn to and where to go to get the help. And I don't think you're prepared for that until you're suddenly in the thick of it. I think I went into my breastfeeding journey thinking it would be very easy. Found out quite quickly with my first that perhaps it isn't as easy, and I think that did change my view of how my journey would be, but also in a way helped push me to want to advocate for others and to encourage breastfeeding and support around it, because I felt like I didn't have any. I found a very lovely group, but I didn't know it was there until I looked for it. So yes, at 11 days old I took Edith there thinking, are they going to be able to help me? Is this what's going to happen? What's going to be there? And they just enveloped me as soon as I walked in the door. And I just remember the pressure coming off my shoulders because I knew that there was people there who understood, who were in the same boat, who were going through similar things to me. And it just became I was so upset when I had to go back to work after Ruby because I couldn't go anymore. Even though I was still feeding, it just didn't work around my work hours, but I just had made such a good connection of friends there. And I don't think, if I hadn't gone there, I don't think I would have carried on with the breastfeeding journey. And then obviously that I think would have impacted my journey with Ruby as well the second time. And I think that's how you learn, is from other people's experiences, and not everything works for everybody, but hopefully they can find something. I just remember feeling like the situation was going to get better, whereas previously I just was like, I don't know if I can do this. I would say look for the groups before you have the baby, because there is no reason why you can't go to those groups prior to having a baby, because you can then ask those questions and you've got people who again have got experience because they've gone through it already. Prepare yourself before. I think I just expected to have the baby and it would all work out and then I'd get the information, but actually if I'd known before, I perhaps wouldn't have been sat on my own in the dark crying my eyes out in the middle of the night, because I didn't know where to turn. So definitely prepare and find those groups and attend those groups before you have baby, so that you know what is available for you if you want it. I think I wish I'd known where to go before I'd had them and had a bit more information. At the time when you're pregnant, you've got so many things going on and so many questions all the time, but I think actually looking back now, I can see that the breastfeeding side of it, there wasn't much information given beforehand. I think they just see it as a post-birth situation, and I wish I had known more before that, because I think it would have helped me to understand what was going on more and how I was feeling, and that it was all very normal, rather than feeling like I was letting my child down and letting my husband down because I'm not feeding my child properly and things like that. Obviously fed is best, but I would always advocate for breastfeeding, and I think if you want to keep going and keep asking for help, because it is out there if you can find it.